The one thing that, that all Jews have in common is Torah.
Torah is life.
It's just a new way to measure your value as a human.
The Torah is for all the Jews.
It's a total way of living.
The one thing that really defines a person as a Jew is, of course, the Torah.
The Torah is how a Jewish person lives.
For over 5,000 years, it has been the one, single, unifying force of the Jewish people. Regardless of the level of observance or worship affiliation, the Torah, God's law, belongs to all Jews.
There's nothing else other than Torah.
Throughout the ages, the one attribute which has eternally defined the Jewish people is their passion for knowledge, enlightenment through study, wisdom through understanding, and life through Torah. For centuries, the image of the Jewish scholar has been one of pious men, tirelessly scrutinizing the words of the sages, pondering questions, endlessly searching for truth. That image seemed to be extinguished by the Holocaust, and later through assimilation and the diaspora. Now, in present-day America, a new image is emerging, thanks in part to the efforts of Rabbi Cutler of the Lakewood, New Jersey Yeshiva and others like him. The great tradition of Eastern European yeshiva scholars has been bridged with an entirely new image of Jewish learning.
Allah, Allah. No. Allah, Yallah.
Allah, Yallah.
Katam Ti Lahoratam. I shall give you the tablets of stone, and the Torah, and the commandment which I have written to teach them.
While the image may have changed, the passion, the quest, and the zeal for learning has not. In fact, the frenzy of Torah study has been rekindled and is burning brighter than ever in what is now known as the community Kollel.
It is the way it is now, even though it was probably bigger beforehand.
So
don't use the blias of the pot of Heter, and only use what you have in front of me right now.
If you have Shishon.
The concept of the Kollel dates back to 18th century Eastern Europe and the great Torah institutions and yeshivas which thrived until their destruction in World War II. Decades later, the Kollel experienced a rebirth on the east coast of America, and over the last 20 years has spread to more than 20 cities nationwide, including here in Denver. The American Kollel of today, however, has broadened its objectives.
On one hand, the Kollel fellows study with the most unbelievable amount of energy and vigor and strength.
You're asking me questions from Hecatempsis that's going to come out to me. He's going to be
but I'm really asking the alumnus also. I'm really asking the alumnus
also. Why is it easier? I'll tell you why it's easier. It's easier because if I have a Hifik which is only Issa D'Rabbanan.
No, so I'm thinking on that in the Kuliguf. There's no such thing that a Hifik is only Issa D'Rabbanan.
At the same time as they're getting advancing their studies, part of the program is an internship, we can call it, in adult education, which means that we're giving them an opportunity to develop their teaching skills by teaching. So the flip side of that is that it's a wonderful resource for the community. So we're actually doing two things at once, which complement each other and perfectly.
Bringing a Kollel to Denver was the inspiration of a small group of Jewish visionaries in December of 1996. It was their hope that a Kollel would revitalize Denver's Jewish community and fulfill a long-time dream of one of Denver's leading Jewish supporters, Sheldon Barron.
He had a vision, and the vision was that with the establishment of all the Torah organizations and Torah institutions in our community, that there would be developed a city of Torah where people would want to move to, where people would love to live. Unfortunately, it didn't happen to the degree that he had hoped during his lifetime. But I believe that with the advent of this Kollel, and their activities and their building of these bridges that it is begun, and it's going to continue to happen even in greater form.
Not only did they have very learned people here, they had, in fact, a super team of individuals that were very personable, enthusiastic, knowledgeable, and caring.
I find it a tremendous, tremendous addition to the Denver community. I find the families, both the young men of the Kollel and their wives, aside from being a wonderful addition to the community, are personable, knowledgeable, and people are attracted to them because of their willingness to share and their genuine like for people.
It would be hard to find anything else in life that we find more enjoyable than studying. And I think that's probably part of the success that we're able to have, is that that's contagious.
I think it comes from fighting for the truth. You know, there's a topic that's being debated, and each one has their own approach and their own opinion to the matter, and you want to make sure that the truth is coming out.
The pasuk teaches us in Tehillim, Pekudei Hashem, which means the words of Hashem, Yisharim, are straight, and the Samchei Lev, and they make the heart happy. We have great teamwork. We understand each other. We know each other's strengths, each other's weaknesses, and who's good at doing what. And everybody's good at something. Everybody's outstanding in a certain feature in a certain way.
A second, equally important qualification for the Kollel Fellows is the ability to infuse the surrounding Jewish community with their love of Torah and impart the wisdom they have attained in their years of study.
I felt that I wanted to share what I had gained in all of my years, and to be able to impress upon others the importance and the satisfaction of learning and living and leading a Torah life.
We have a statement in our daily prayers that Lil know the Lamed, learn and to teach. And so we have what I call in reach. They have a dedicated community of people who are dedicated to that particular idea of Jewish education, of maximum Jewish education. And then at the same time, they also reach out the Lamed to teach other people, and that adds to the total strength of a Jewish community.
The outreach programs allow the Kollel members an opportunity to share their Torah scholarship with the local Jewish community. To date, more than 1,000 Denver area Jews have participated in any number of cost-free Kollel outreach programs.
All they care about is that they're there to help. If you have questions on anything, it's like having an authority at your fingertips all the time.
Every week, men and women from all sectors of Judaism escape to another world for 1 hour. It's a world that puts them in touch with some eternal truths, challenges their minds, and gives them a healthy perspective on life's priorities. One of these programs is Locks and Learn, where each Sunday morning dozens of men gather at the East Denver Orthodox Synagogue to share breakfast, Jewish philosophy, and love of Torah with the Kollel scholars.
He says possibly one could argue and one could say no, it's not a Torah law, it's only a rabbinic law.
Locks and Learn is a very carefully tailored program to enable a text study on all different levels.
They did get the idea, as we saw in the Mechilta from the Pasuk, but it's still only a rabbinic law and not a Doraisa.
It doesn't just mean that you shouldn't do work, but it means work should not be done, right?
Basically, we have levels going from people who don't know how to read Hebrew, and that's not necessary for this program. It's just the intellectual ideas, the thoughts, the ideas, the concepts behind it, which requires absolutely no prior background. On the other hand, learning the same material is people who went through years of yeshiva study in a different group and discussing that on a different level.
We wanted to know our background and know exactly what it meant to be Jewish and what Judaism really was. And the Kollel has opened up an opportunity for us to be able to study at length, and really that's only limited to what I'm willing to put in. So the Kollel and everybody is already here, so all I have to do is show up and learn.
Perhaps the most successful Kollel outreach program is Partners in Torah, a weekly meeting of the minds, which takes place at the Southeast Center for Judaism.
What does this mean over here? And it says, again, it says they saw God, and you, S-O-L-A-K, you saw, they saw Hashem. And underneath his feet, what was it when they finally got to see Hashem? What did they see? They saw this sapphire brickwork, this layout of bricks, and they saw the pure heavens. What does it mean?
Partners in Torah is a great program for somebody who's beginning to discover Torah knowledge and Torah learning.
The Tanakhama holds that you go with the amount of water. Okay. The appearance does make a difference. Right.
What we do is we set up one-on-one with a suitable person for the student and the mentor. They study the topic of the student's choice, and at the speed that the student would like, and it's very unintimidating.
If Moshe is going to give you back the contract, and then you're going to go to Yehuda and say, hey, you bought the house on the 15th. I had a lien on it from the 10th. Let's go to Beis Din. Beis Din will say, hey, he's right, Yehuda, you got to give him back the house.
We've been studying the Bava Metzia, and those are laws that have to do with property and how a person acquires property and owns things. And it sounds kind of dry, but then when you put it in the Torah context, talking about laws like that, they're very spiritual, and they have a lot of meaning. And that's, you know, you can take it out and actually use it in the real world every day.
But if Hashem wants to give you Eretz Yisrael, that means Hashem holds that you could withstand all the tests and all the hardships that will come with it.
They have a happiness and a joy in their life that I'm trying to attain. They get such a charge out of what they're doing and passing it on to other people. And you can see when the spark lights up in my eyes or in someone else's eyes, how much more so it lights up even in their eyes, that somebody is actually participating in this with them and getting what they have.
Through Torah study, besides the understanding in the Torah, automatically there's like all of a sudden you feel like a relationship between the one that you're studying with, because he gives you ideas that you didn't think about, and somehow all those feelings get mixed up, and it just it elevates you, makes you happy. I don't know.
I think that spark that everybody has inside of them for Judaism can be ignited by just a connection between another person who's got the patience to sit there and explain things to them.
It's a two-way street. Whenever you're discussing anything in halachic matters, or in the philosophy of Yiddishkeit, of Judaism, so things get much more crystallized in your mind. You could have people studying all their life, and if they don't convey it to others and try to express it to others, it's not as clear to them. When you work it out, even when you're speaking to somebody about it, it becomes much, much clearer.
It was important for me, for my children, to be raised with Judaism, not only for themselves, but to have the drive and the incentive to go forward and raise their families to be Jewish. And I realized that you can talk about it all that you want, but you have to live it, and you have to provide that environment for them, and that's really what this has brought for me.
Every individual Jew is deeply connected to the Torah, whether he knows it or not. And therefore, when we're able to expose a Jew to Torah, then we're exposing him to something like a long-lost friend.
My last real involvement in Judaism was, except for special events and high holidays, was really when after my bar mitzvah was confirmation, and that was about the extent of it. I was welcomed back in and immediately felt comfortable.
Now in reality, this is done frequently. If a person can't make it to shul, or a family can't make it to shul, the person will read at home.
It draws me to the heritage more. It makes me think in almost all parts of my life, you start to have a different measuring stick about how you should measure yourself and your actions, that there are standards to live by that all of our ancestors lived by that were lost maybe in the Holocaust and the assimilation afterwards. So it's just a new way to measure your value as a human.
Along with the educational outreach programs, the Kollel invites the Jewish community to partake in festive celebrations several times throughout the year. It's all part of the Kollel's comprehensive efforts to enhance the spirituality of our Jewish community. and to assist Denver's many fine Jewish-based institutions in any way possible.
We find ourselves both having similar goals, and being the rabbi of a shul and an outreach center that has a lot of people coming in at the beginner level, intermediate level, and through the learning that they've done with us, the Kollel provides them with an opportunity to take their learning a step further, to grow to greater heights, and really expand upon the learning that we do with them.
Most of the secular world understands the value of think tanks. The Kollel is our Jewish think tank.
As profound as the effects of the Kollel's outreach programs are on the participants, so too are the effects on the Kollel scholars.
I feel like I grow from learning with these people. I think could be the charge is even a little bit stronger.
Instead of just being a student and a teacher, it really turns I teach and at the same time learn also, because you get things clearer even when you say it over to somebody else. And at the same time, we get friends and we become friends.
When one considers the overwhelming response to the Kollel's outreach programs from Denver's Jewish community and the scholarly accomplishments of the Kollel Fellows, it is remarkable to think that the Kollel was founded just a little over 1 year ago. It would not be an exaggeration to say the Kollel has succeeded beyond the wildest expectations of the founders.
These 8 young couples are so supremely good at what they do, and so sweet and so well liked. It's like spreading perfume around the whole city.
The young men here are so special and so accepted in the community that they have already a great impact. So I feel very excited and very pleased.
If you love people, you'll share that which is the most precious to you, a treasure. That's what the Kollel is doing.
Perhaps the most exciting aspect of the community Kollel is how the achievements of the organization reflect the future of Torah study in America, and how Jews, thanks in part to the Kollel, are finding unity through Torah.
When you think about the history of the Jewish people in the last 50 years, you think about the Torah institutions which were destroyed in Europe. It's like a tree which was chopped down and the stump was let to rot. And then out of nowhere, the fresh new saplings just growing with so much energy in there and sap flowing through the branches. And that's what's happening here in America.
The Torah and the Jewish people are one. So the more one gets in touch with the Torah, the more one gets in touch with the Jewish people as a whole. And that's why all the artificial boundaries that separate between Jews fall away in the context of Torah. Because in the context of Torah, one is in the context of the Jewish people.
Whatever the Torah says, the philosophy the Torah dictates, is the truth, and nothing else is. And once people understand that, that is the one unifying factor behind that.
The healing balm of Torah Lishma, which is the Torah for Torah's sake, has begun to do its thing here in our community.